A haul video of all the stuff I got while I was in Halifax in terms of single issue comic books. I did get a ton of trades, but you'll see those in January when I do the comic book or graphic novel collection video. Anyway, so we have a lot of True Believers editions here, and I'm absolutely in love with these books. They're $1. They reprint classic issues, important moments in Marvel history, and they sell them for $1. And that's it. So the first one we have here is True Believers #1, Thanos the First, which is a reprinting of the Invincible Iron Man number 55. I did a review of this comic book on my podcast, Nights, a Marvel podcast, link in the description. You can find it on iTunes, Podbean, or anywhere else where you get podcasts. I'd recommend listening to that if you like comic books, if you like underappreciated books and stories and characters. Anyway, True Believers #1, What If Spider-Man Joined the Fantastic Four? Oh, by the way, they're all called True Believers #1, just to sell books, I guess. But what if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four? So this is a reprint of the very first issue of What If, which is a series of books that I really like. It essentially details classic Marvel scenarios had they gone slightly differently. And got a reprint of all the supplementary material in the book, that sort of thing. So these books were narrated by the Watcher up until the later issues, anyway. And I really enjoyed them. I've got a few of them over here. All the ones I have are Spider-Man based, except for one. But here are some of those books now. There's What if Spider-Man had kept the alien costume, or what if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man? What if Spider-Man had not married Mary Jane? And what if Spider-Man had kept his 6 arms? So that's a book that ran for a long time. They also did events about it. They did What if Age of Ultron, What if Infinity, that sort of thing. What if Civil War, essentially, when they did the Secret Wars Civil War event. What if the Phoenix had not died? Phoenix Returns, so now we're into the Fantastic Four stuff. This is an issue of Fantastic Four number 285. It's reprinted here, but it's a story about the Phoenix, and so it doesn't have the Fantastic Four ads on the back that all the other Fantastic Four books in this True Believers collection have. But, yeah. So every month they do, like, every 2 weeks or every month they do a theme. So the theme could be Spider-Man, the theme could be Venom, could be Wolverine, could be X-Men, whatever the month is, whatever the 2 weeks entails, or what have you. Fantastic Four was a popular one. I think they might have done 2 or 3 runs of that because of the book that came out. But this is a really, really cool, really fun book, and I'll probably talk about this book on my podcast at some point in the future. But it's The Wedding of Sue and Reed Richards, and basically every important character in the Marvel Universe in the 60s is in this book, and I think it's a lot of fun. I like it. We have the birth of Valeria Richards, who is the daughter of Sue and Reed Richards, and their second kid. So, back in the day, the Fantastic Four, Sue and Reed Richards, after having gotten married in this book, have a kid called Franklin Richards, who's nigh all-powerful. And later on, they have another kid called Valeria, and she's also a genius. Then we have Fantastic Four versus a New Fantastic Four, which is a reprint of Fantastic Four number... Let's see. Oh, these are... number 374, but these are a weird case in that sometimes, as you saw, their issue that it's reprinting is in the front, and sometimes it's in the very back, but whatever. So Spider-Man has led the Fantastic Four before, when Reed Richards and Sue Storm and Ben Grimm and the Human Torch and that sort of thing were out of commission. Spider-Man was forced to assemble his own Fantastic Four team, being given the reins to the Baxter Building and everything else in the event that the Fantastic Four should ever perish or disappear, which I think is really cool, because Peter Parker's been friends with the Fantastic Four forever, since his very first issue. So there was Amazing Fantasy number 15, which is the book he first appears in. I've got a poster of it up there. And then there was Amazing Spider-Man number 1, where he meets the Fantastic Four, and they become lifelong friends. These two are best friends. Reed Richards and Spider-Man are both respected scientists who work together oftentimes. And he's close with the other two members of the Fantastic Four as well. He's Uncle Peter to the Fantastic Four's kids, and he was the replacement for Johnny Storm after he died. So I think that's really cool. He's been in several incarnations. Anyway, I should move on because I'm talking about every book in great detail. This is a really old one, Fantastic Four vs. Doctor Doom. The Coming of Galactus, obviously a classic and important issue. This is another classic scenario, the Thing versus the Hulk. You know, all the time they would clash back in the day, and usually the Hulk would win. I mean, almost always the Hulk would win, or it would come to some sort of draw. But yeah, it's a classic battle. The Fantastic Four number... I don't really know what the significance of this book is because I haven't read it yet, and it's not really labeled as such. Let's see. I can't actually find... I can't actually find the book that it's reprinting. Oh, here we go. Fantastic Four number 209. Beautiful cover, by the way, I think. Fantastic Four by Scott Byrne. This is Scott Byrne's... Or John Byrne's first issue of Fantastic Four. Then we have Fantastic Four by Walter Simonson. Then we have Thing 2-in-1, number 1, The Thing and Man-Thing. I did a review of this book on my channel before. If you want to check that out, I'd recommend you do so. Now we have Super Sons, number 1. I haven't read this yet, but it came out a couple of weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I believe it came out. But this seems cool, and I want to check it out. So we have The Birth of Giant Man, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And so this book came out to coincide with the Ant-Man and the Wasp film, and it reprints 2 classic Ant-Man stories. Then we have Carol Danvers, who, I forgot to do a review on this, actually. You guys asked for this, and I completely forgot about it, so I will have to do that at some point. I'll set it aside and put it on my table. But she only appears for, like, the briefest of moments. So I got this book for 50 cents. This is Tales of the Teen Titans. This is number 52. I really like the Teen Titans, so I picked that up. This is filling a gap in my collection. Very funny cover. Pause that if you want to read it. But Excalibur. It's another book I've got a lot of. I always love the pictures on the back. The the Kitty Pryde one and the Nightcrawler ones are really cool. Then we have Mephisto versus the Fantastic Four. I got this one for 50 cents. This is number 1 of a 4-issue miniseries. We have Daredevil number 600, which came out in the beginning of the summer, a little before. And just let me go get the other stack. So these are the Batman issues that came out while I was in Halifax. Number 50, it makes sense, but it is a disappointment. False advertising for sure. But whatever, Tom King. I needed something to follow while I was there. Cold Days. I actually quite enjoyed this storyline. 51, 52, 53. 52 was my favorite of the Cold Days storyline, but I don't know, 53 was a bit weird. Like, yeah, I think there are some parallels that are done very well, but there's also some weird sort of character work in the book. Maybe I'll do a review of it. I did do some footage in preparation of a review for it. Anyway, True Believers number 1, Venom Symbiosis. This reprints Web of Spider-Man number 1, which I do have collected in Essentials edition, but this is it looks really good in color. I also reviewed this book on my podcast, Knights, a Marvel podcast. You can find it on Podbean, iTunes, everything I said earlier. Wherever you get podcasts, you can probably find it. It's on SoundCloud. Go listen to that. It's a lot of fun. So we have another Ant-Man one, Ant-Man and the Wasp. On the trail of Spider-Man, even though he's got no spider on his back. I haven't read this issue, so I don't know if that's intentional or not yet. Then we have Till Death Do Us Part, the wedding of Ant-Man and the Wasp. At the time, he was Yellow Jacket, though. And we have another classic Hulk showdown, Hulk versus Thor. This was printed last year as a tribute to Jack Kirby, who would have been 100 years old in 2017, but unfortunately he died in the 90s. But obviously a titan of the industry. We have an Iron Man issue here reprinted. This is the first appearance of the Ghost, presented by Ant-Man, because his movie had just come out and the Ghost was the villain in that. Next we have Bendis' Superman #1. I did a video on this comic book on my YouTube channel, so go check that out if you're interested in this book. We have the Amazing Spider-Man Behind the Scenes Edition #1, which I got for free, but I think it's really cool. I like looking at artwork and stuff. There's all the sketches from various Spider-Man books. Defenders #100, which again, you can see I got for 50 cents. I haven't read this particular issue, but I really do like the Defenders comic books, so can't wait to read that. I got Dazzler #2 because it was 50 cents. There's been talk of a Dazzler TV show. Secret Wars #4 for 50 cents. This is the one where Hulk holds up the mountain or the continent or whatever for the Avengers so they don't die. This is John Byrne's Man of Steel #1. This is a very classic issue. Great art as well. John Byrne. What a guy. Power Man and Iron Fist #90. This is a fun book. I like this book a lot. I talked about it on my podcast, Knights of Marvel podcast. You can find it obviously on iTunes and SoundCloud and all that snazz. Sorry if you can hear that vacuuming. This is the Invincible Iron Man #174. Got that for $1. Classic cover. Sentry in the X-Men #1. I believe Marvel Knights. DC Nation, 25 cents, just a bunch of short stories. The New Warriors, number 46, to fill a gap in my collection. The Astonishing Ant-Man, The Incredible Shrinking Doom. Oh, and special guest appearance from Spider-Man or Peter Parker. Another Ant-Man book. Jean Grey versus Sabretooth, another True Believers edition. Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. I love Kitty Pryde. Oh, this is an interesting book. This is the wedding of Jean Grey and Scott Summers in the X-Men. We've got Toxin, Venom Toxin, where Agent Venom fights Toxin. Venom Lethal Protector #1, which I'll probably do on my podcast soon. Wolverine versus Venom. Agent Venom #1. Agent Venom. Flash Thompson has Venom, if you're not familiar. And Fantastic Four #1 from this summer. Got a ticket to a show I went to see in the Confederation Center. It's a musical. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. I got Moon Knight #36.